In the year 2300, humanity stood at the pinnacle of technological achievement. Earth had transformed into a vibrant hub of culture and innovation, with towering cities gleaming under the light of artificial suns. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as scientists, engineers, and visionaries prepared to embark on an unprecedented journey to explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Little did they know that this era of hope and ambition would be shattered in an instant. As the sun rose over New Chicago on a seemingly ordinary day, alarms blared across the city. The Zorith had arrived, a massive fleet of sleek metallic ships, descended from the void, blotting out the stars. Their imposing silhouette cast a dark shadow over the planet, sparking panic among the populace within moments. The skies erupted into chaos as the Zorith unleashed a barrage of laser fire, obliterating skyscrapers and sending civilians fleeing for their lives. The invasion had begun. In the heart of the chaos, a young engineer named Sam Morgan raced through the debris-strewn streets, desperate to reach his family. His mind raced with fear and disbelief. He had spent years developing advanced propulsion systems that could one day take humanity beyond the stars. But now those dreams lay in ruins as the Zorith forces advanced, relentlessly demolishing everything in their path. As he dodged falling debris and narrowly escaped bursts of energy blasts, Sam stumbled upon a hidden bunker beneath the remnants of an old subway station. The bunker was a relic from a forgotten war, built to protect against threats long since deemed extinct. He took refuge inside, breathless and terrified. Alone in the dimly lit chamber, he found a flickering monitor displaying urgent transmissions from military command. The screen flashed with alarming reports detailing the extent of the invasion. Suddenly, the transmission shifted to an encrypted signal, and Sam leaned closer. The static cleared, revealing the Zorith communication, a broadcast between their commanders. It was a revelation that sent shivers down his spine. The Zorith viewed humanity as primitive, a mere obstacle to be crushed in their quest for dominance. They believed their advanced technology and superior strength would ensure a swift victory. Overwhelmed by a mix of fear and rage, Sam felt a spark of defiance ignite within him. The screen flickered again, and he witnessed footage of Zorith troops moving through the streets of New Chicago, their imposing figures clad in dark armor, with glowing energy weapons scanning the area for resistance. Sam's heart raced as he realized the implications. They had underestimated humanity, the very trait that had driven them to conquer worlds across the galaxy. The Zorith believed they could eradicate humanity without consequence, but Sam knew the truth: humanity was resilient and resourceful. As he absorbed the gravity of the situation, a plan began to form in his mind, fueled by determination and a newfound sense of purpose. He resolved to escape the bunker and seek out others who might share his vision of resistance. He would not let humanity fall without a fight. Gripping the remnants of his old life tightly, he knew he had to find a way to gather the scattered remnants of civilization and organize them into a cohesive force capable of standing against their oppressors. Emerging from the bunker into the streets littered with destruction, Sam set out on his mission. He would rally the survivors, inspire them to fight back against the Zorith, and prove that humanity was far from defeated. He felt a surge of hope as he recalled the words of his mentor: "The strength of humanity lies not in its technology, but in its unwavering spirit. United, they could achieve the impossible, and together they would reclaim their world." In the days following the invasion, the initial shock gave way to a grim reality as survivors banded together in the face of overwhelming odds. The once vibrant streets of New Chicago had become a battleground where fear and desperation clashed with hope and resilience. As Sam began to navigate the devastated city, he realized he was not alone. Pockets of resistance were forming across the globe. Despite the chaos, humanity was awakening to the threat they faced. Sam moved through the rubble where he encountered a group of survivors huddled together in a makeshift shelter. Among them was Captain Elena Torres, a former military strategist known for her keen tactical mind and unwavering spirit. She was rallying the desperate souls around her, instilling a sense of purpose in the midst of despair. As Sam listened to her words, he felt a deep connection to her mission and knew he had to join her. Captain Torres spoke passionately about the need to unite against their common enemy. Every voice mattered, every hand was needed in the fight for survival. She urged them to set aside their differences and focus on their shared humanity. It was a call to action that resonated deeply with Sam, who stepped forward to offer his expertise in engineering and technology. He proposed using the remnants of advanced tech from fallen Zoreth ships to create makeshift weapons and defenses. The survivors gathered under Captain Torres formed a coalition that began to take shape. The resistance was a diverse group of individuals from all walks of life: scientists, teachers, mechanics, and soldiers. Each had their own story of loss and determination. Every member brought unique skills that could be used against the Zoreth. Sam found himself at the center of this burgeoning force, quickly gaining the respect of his fellow fighters for his ingenuity and resourcefulness. As the days turned into weeks, the resistance grew stronger. While skirmishes with Zoreth forces continued, the coalition focused on guerrilla tactics and sabotage operations. They disrupted supply lines, stole weapons, and even captured a Zoreth scout ship during one daring mission. With each small victory, their confidence grew, and so did their desire for revenge. The turning point came when the resistance managed to intercept a Zoreth transmission, revealing critical information about their operations. It was an accidental slip in their communications, a reminder of their arrogance, as they dismissed humans as mere pests. A sense of urgency filled the air as Captain Torres and Sam worked together to decipher the information gleaned from the intercepted messages. They discovered details about a major Zoreth supply depot, located in the outskirts of New Chicago, a treasure trove of weapons and technology that could change the course of the conflict. With this knowledge in hand, Captain Torres organized a bold plan to strike the depot. The team meticulously prepared their approach, using what they had learned from previous engagements and leveraging their guerrilla tactics to maximize their chances of success. As night fell, the resistance moved stealthily through the ruins of the city, their hearts racing with anticipation. The operation was fraught with danger as they infiltrated the depot, avoiding patrols and security systems. With every step, their adrenaline surged as they reached the heart of the facility, where they encountered Zoreth soldiers in heated discussions about their plans for Earth. Sam felt a mix of fear and determination as they exchanged glances with his fellow fighters. They knew this was their moment to prove their worth and stand against the invaders. As explosions echoed in the distance, signaling the start of the distraction, Sam and his comrades sprang into action, fighting with the fury of a people pushed to the brink. They fought fiercely, each skirmish igniting a fire in their souls as they reclaimed what had been stolen from them. The resistance was no longer just surviving, they were fighting back, and the tide of war began to shift in their favor. The air was thick with tension as the resistance fighters navigated the chaos of the Zoreth supply depot. The operation had commenced with the sound of distant explosions igniting their adrenaline and sharpening their focus. Captain Torres led the charge, her fierce determination driving them forward. The team moved with purpose, slipping through shadows and utilizing the element of surprise to their advantage. Sam's heart raced as he sprinted alongside his comrades, weaving through the debris and dodging beams of energy fire that erupted around them. Each step brought them closer to their objective, the central control room, where vital Zoreth technology was stored and monitored. The stakes had never been higher. They had to secure this depot to turn the tide of the war in their favor. They encountered Zoreth guards patrolling the corridors and engaged in skirmishes that were as quick as they were brutal. Each clash felt like a testament to their resolve, but it was the Zoreth's arrogance that had led them to underestimate human ingenuity and bravery. Captain Torres led from the front, her tactical mind analyzing the flow of battle as she directed the team with precision. As they approached the control room, a sudden alarm blared throughout the facility. The Zoreth were on high alert, and Sam could feel the urgency building within him. They had to move quickly. He and his fellow fighters burst through the reinforced doors, finding themselves in a sprawling chamber filled with alien technology, blinking consoles, and holographic displays. The sight was overwhelming, but they had no time to marvel. "Sam, secure those terminals," Torres commanded, pointing to a series of glowing consoles. We need access to their logistics and inventory. We need to know what we're up against." He nodded, adrenaline coursing through him as he approached the nearest terminal. He began to interface with the Zorath technology using the skills he had honed during his years as an engineer. The interface was alien, yet he could feel the remnants of familiarity. It was a challenge, but one he was determined to conquer. As Sam worked furiously to decode the Zorath system, he noticed the team engaging with incoming Zorath reinforcements. Outside the control room, chaos reigned as blaster fire erupted, and the shouts of Zorath soldiers echoed down the corridors. The sounds of battle served as a grim reminder of the stakes at hand. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sam accessed the database. He quickly sifted through the information displayed before him, as if it were a treasure map revealing the enemy's vulnerabilities. He found logistics details about troop movements, supply routes, and even information on a secret Zorath weapon being developed underground, a weapon designed specifically to eradicate humanity. "Got it," Sam shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "They're planning to deploy a super weapon within days. We have to destroy it before it can be activated." "Then we have to move," Torres replied without hesitation. "We'll take what we can carry and sabotage the rest. We're not leaving here empty-handed." With newfound purpose, the team began downloading critical information onto portable devices, while also setting explosives to destroy the alien technology around them. They were running out of time as the Zorath troops were closing in, their resolve only strengthened by the knowledge they had gained. As the countdown timer flashed ominously on Sam's device, the team finished their preparations. The tension mounted as they prepared to leave the control room. But just as they turned to exit, a group of Zorath soldiers stormed and weapons raised. The situation escalated into a fierce battle, the atmosphere crackling with energy and fear. The resistance fought valiantly, determined to escape with their lives, and the vital intel that could change the course of the war. Sam felt a surge of adrenaline as he fired his weapon, fighting alongside his comrades. They were no longer just defending their homes, they were fighting for the future of humanity. In a heart-stopping moment, as the countdown neared its end, they managed to break through the Zorath soldiers and fled the control room. The explosion that followed echoed like a thunderclap as the facility erupted behind them, flames licking at the sky, signaling their victory, but also the ferocity of the battle yet to come. Emerging from the smoking ruins of the depot, the resistance fighters stood battered but unbroken, united by the knowledge they had secured and the mission that lay ahead. They had taken a monumental step in reclaiming their world, and they knew the fight was far from over as they prepared to unleash their newfound strength against the Zorath menace. The exhilaration of their recent victory was short-lived as the aftermath of the explosion echoed in their minds. As the resistance fighters regrouped outside the smoldering remains of the Zorath supply depot, they faced a stark reality. The Zorath were not the only ones aware of the threat they posed. The aliens had grown increasingly aggressive in their tactics, and the recent sabotage would surely provoke a brutal response. Captain Torres gathered her team, her expression a mix of pride and determination. "We've struck a significant blow against the Zorath today," she said, her voice steady. "But they will retaliate, and we need to be ready. We can't afford to wait for them to come to us. We need to take the fight to them." The team nodded, a fierce resolve evident in their eyes. Sam felt a surge of adrenaline as the gravity of their situation settled in. He remembered the intel they had secured, the existence of the Zorath superweapon, and the urgency of their next move pressed heavily on him. "We need to find the location of that weapon," he urged. "If we can destroy it before they deploy it, we'll have a fighting chance." Over the next few days, the resistance worked tirelessly to analyze the data Sam had extracted from the Zorath systems. The intelligence revealed a series of underground facilities on a remote moon designated Z-47, where the superweapon was being constructed. It was a heavily fortified location, and the Zorath would not take kindly to human interference. After careful planning, Torres devised an ambitious operation to infiltrate Z-47. The resistance would use one of the captured Zorath ships to approach the moon undetected. They would need to disable the facility's security systems and destroy the superweapon before the Zorath realized what was happening. As the team prepared for the mission, Sam found himself working closely with Dr. Selka, the defected Zorath scientist who had provided critical information about the weapon. Her insights proved invaluable, and she quickly gained the trust of the Resistance fighters. However, Sam sensed a lingering tension among the group. Some viewed her with suspicion, unable to shake the belief that she might still be a Zorath loyalist. The night before the operation, Sam and Selka worked side by side in the ship's control room as they prepared the ship's systems for the mission. "You really believe humans can win this war?" Selka asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Absolutely," Sam replied, his confidence bolstered by the camaraderie he had forged with his fellow fighters. "We're not just fighting for survival, we're fighting for our future. We have the spirit and resilience to overcome any challenge." Selka nodded, a hint of admiration in her eyes. "I hope you're right. I've seen what the Zorath are capable of, but I believe you have something they lack." With the ship ready, the team set out under the cover of darkness, their hearts racing as they approached Z-47. The moon loomed large on the view screen, its surface curved by the Zorath's industrial efforts. As they entered orbit, Sam guided the ship through the defenses using Selka's knowledge to evade detection. The tension was palpable, every member of the crew acutely aware of the stakes involved. Once on the surface, they disembarked stealthily, navigating through rocky terrain until they reached the facility's entrance. Sam felt a rush of adrenaline. As they moved in tandem, the weight of their mission driving them forward. With Selka's guidance, they breached the security systems, disabling alarms and cameras as they slipped inside the labyrinthine facility. Inside, the air was thick with the hum of machinery and the smell of burnt metal. As they moved deeper into the complex, they began to encounter Zorath soldiers patrolling the halls. The team engaged in skirmishes, using their training and the element of surprise to gain the upper hand. But the Zorath were quick to react. The sound of alarms echoed through the corridors as the facility went into lockdown. "Move, move, move," Torres shouted, leading the charge. As they pressed forward, Sam's heart raced as they fought against the odds, feeling the weight of their mission on his shoulders. They had to find the super weapon and destroy it before it could be used against humanity. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a massive door marked with alien symbols. The super weapon was behind it. They exchanged glances filled with determination, knowing this was their moment. The team prepared their charges, ready to breach the door and confront the Zorath's ultimate weapon before it could be unleashed upon their world. The tension in the air was palpable as the Resistance fighters gathered in front of the massive door, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Captain Torres motioned for silence, her eyes scanning the corridor for any sign of approaching Zorath soldiers. The moment felt suspended in time. They were about to confront the embodiment of their enemy's power, the super weapon that could eradicate humanity. "Ready?" Torres whispered, her voice steadied despite the chaos surrounding them. Each member of the team nodded, their resolve hardened by the stakes at hand. Sam felt his heart race as he positioned the explosives, the weight of the responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He had come so far from the terrified engineer hiding in a bunker. Now, he was part of a movement that could alter the fate of humanity. "On my mark," Torres said, her eyes focused on the door's control panel. With a quick glance at Selka, Sam felt a surge of confidence. The Zorath scientist had been invaluable, providing insights that allowed them to bypass the facility's security systems. He knew they could trust her, but the tension in the air also reminded him of the fragility of their alliance. 3, 2, 1, now," Torres commanded, and Sam pressed the button, detonating the charges. The explosion rocked the door, sending shrapnel flying as it blew inward, creating a massive opening. The team surged forward, adrenaline propelling them into the heart of the facility. Inside, the sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The room was filled with advanced technology, pulsating with energy. At its center stood the superweapon, a massive structure brimming with ominous power, its surface glimmering with alien inscriptions. Sam's mind raced as he absorbed the enormity of what they were facing. This was not just a weapon. It was a statement of the Zorath's dominance over the galaxy. We need to plant the explosives on the core, Torres shouted, directing the team to split into two groups. Sam, you and Selka handle the core. The rest of you, keep an eye on R6. We can't afford any surprises. Sam and Selka rushed toward the core, their movements precise and urgent. As they approached, a sense of dread washed over Sam. What if we can't destroy it in time? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We will, Selka replied, her eyes steady. But we need to hurry. This weapon is programmed to activate soon, and if we don't shut it down, we'll be too late. Just as they began to set the charges around the core, the alarm systems blared throughout the facility. The lights flashed red, casting eerie shadows across the room. Sam's heart sank as the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance. Zorath soldiers were closing in, and they had little time. Faster. Torres yelled through the comms, urgency thick in her voice. Sam's hands moved with a frantic precision, his heart racing as he placed the last explosive. He and Selka stepped back, their eyes darting toward the door, where Zorath soldiers were beginning to breach the entrance. Explosives set, Sam shouted, adrenaline surging through him. We have to detonate and get out. Covering fire. Torres commanded as she and the rest of the team turned to face the incoming Zorath. The room erupted in chaos, blaster fire illuminating the shadows as the resistance fought to hold their ground. Sam could feel the heat of the battle intensifying, and every instinct told him they needed to leave. Now. Selka, we need to go, he urged, but she was already working on the detonator. Just a few more seconds, she replied, her focus unwavering. I need to ensure it will take out the entire facility. With a final, desperate push, Sam joined Torres and the others, firing at the advancing Zorath. They were heavily outnumbered, and the tension mounted as the aliens pushed forward. Sam could see the determination in his comrades' eyes. They were fighting not just for their lives, but for the future of humanity. Finally, Selka's voice broke through the chaos. Detonator ready. Now. Torres shouted. Sam barely registered the moment as Selka pressed the button. A blinding flash filled the room, followed by a deafening explosion that sent shockwaves through the facility. The superweapon crumbled before their eyes, and the structure around them began to collapse. Run! Torres screamed, and the team bolted for the exit, the ground shaking beneath them. As they raced through the halls, Sam could hear the facility groaning as it imploded, a cacophony of destruction echoing behind them. They burst out into the moonlight, the debris raining down as the facility crumbled. Breathless and covered in dust, the team reached their ship just in time. They clambered aboard, the reality of their escape hitting them as they prepared for takeoff. Sam glanced back at the burning facility, knowing they had dealt a significant blow to the Zorath. But as they flew away, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger fight. Prepare for hyperspace, Torres commanded, and Sam took one last look at the moon, a sense of determination igniting within him. They had struck a blow for humanity, but the war was far from over. They would need to stand united and face whatever the Zorath would throw at them next. Together, they would rise against the darkness that threatened their very existence. As the resistance ship rocketed away from the crumbling remains of the Zorath facility, the atmosphere inside was a mix of relief and adrenaline. The crew had successfully destroyed the superweapon, but the victory was tempered by the understanding that the Zorath would not let this insult go unanswered. The tension was palpable as Captain Torres sat at the helm, her face illuminated by the flickering controls. Sam took a moment to gather his thoughts, his mind still racing from the chaos of their escape. Status report, Torres commanded, her voice cutting through the din of alarms and the hum of the ship's engines. Engines are stable, Captain, Selka replied, her fingers flying over the console. We're heading for the nearest safe zone in the asteroid belt. It'll give us time to regroup and strategize. Good, Torres said, her eyes scanning the view screen for any signs of pursuit. We need to assess our losses and prepare for the next phase of our operation. We've struck a blow against the Zoreth, but they'll retaliate. As the ship entered the shadow of the asteroid belt, the crew members began to relax, though the tension lingered in the air. Sam, still buzzing from the adrenaline of the mission, made his way to the makeshift briefing room. The rest of the team filed in, some of them nursing injuries, but all wearing expressions of grim determination. They had survived, but at what cost? Torres took her place at the front of the room, her presence commanding attention. "We've dealt the Zoreth a significant setback," she began, her voice steady. "But make no mistake, they will come for us. We need to prepare for their response. I want to hear your assessments of what we've learned." The group began sharing insights about the Zoreth's technology, their combat tactics, and weaknesses they had noticed during their infiltration. Sam spoke up, his voice rising above the rest. "We have to leverage what we learned about their command structure. If we can disrupt their communication lines and target their leaders, we can create chaos within their ranks." Dr. Selka nodded in agreement. "From the data we recovered, the Zoreth rely heavily on centralized command. Disrupting their communications could sever their coordination and create opportunities for us to strike." Torres considered their input, her eyes narrowing as she formulated a plan. "Then we need to locate their command ship. It should be in orbit around the main Zoreth fleet, and if we can get in undetected, we can cripple their leadership. It's risky, but it's our best shot." The room buzzed with a mix of excitement and anxiety. This was a dangerous mission, and everyone knew it. Sam could feel the weight of their determination, the sense of urgency that filled the air as they prepared for another confrontation. "Let's get to work," Torres said, her voice a rallying cry. "We'll need to gather intel on their fleet movements, pinpoint their command ship, and assemble a team for a stealth operation. This is our moment to turn the tide in this war." As they worked, Sam felt a renewed sense of purpose. The camaraderie among the team had strengthened, and he was no longer just an engineer. He was part of a movement, a force fighting for their very existence. He and Selka dug into the data they had collected, piecing together the Zoreth's command structure and identifying potential weaknesses. Hours passed as they plotted their course and gathered necessary equipment. Finally, with a plan taking shape, Torres gathered everyone for a final briefing. "We move in 2 hours," she said, her voice resolute. "This operation could change everything. We need to stay focused and watch each other's backs. We've come too far to falter now." As the team dispersed to finalize preparations, Sam found himself alone with Selka in the ship's lab. They were surrounded by the remnants of their last mission: wires, tools, and scattered notes. He turned to her, wanting to voice the apprehension that had begun to gnaw at him. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" he asked, his voice low. "The Zoreth are relentless. They'll be ready for us." Selka looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "They've underestimated humanity every step of the way. We are resilient, we adapt, and we fight for each other. If we stick together and use our strengths, we can make a difference." Her words resonated with him, igniting the fire of hope within. He could see the same determination in her eyes that had fueled their fight thus far. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family bound by a common goal. As the ship hurtled toward the Zoreth fleet, Sam knew they were on the brink of a pivotal moment. Together, they would face the Zoreth and challenge their reign of terror. The fight for humanity's survival was far from over, but they would face it head-on, united and unyielding. As the ship glided silently through the asteroid belt, Sam and the resistance team finalized their preparations for the upcoming mission. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and trepidation, each member acutely aware that the success or failure of their operation could shift the balance of the war. With the Zoreth fleet looming in the distance, they were about to embark on a mission that would test their resolve like never before. Captain Torres stood at the front of the cramped briefing room, her demeanor steady, but her eyes ablaze with determination. "We've identified the Zoreth command ship, the *Gorath*. It's heavily armed and protected by a swarm of fighters, but we've also discovered a blind spot in their defenses. We'll exploit that to get on board." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. "Once we're inside, our primary objectives are to locate their command center and disrupt their communications. We'll plant explosives to create chaos, which should buy us time to escape. This isn't just about us. It's about sending a message to the Zoreth that we're not going down without a fight." "Understood, Captain," Sam replied, his heart racing. He exchanged glances with Selka, who offered a supportive nod. They were ready for this, ready to prove their resilience against a foe that had underestimated them time and again. As the ship neared the command ship's position, Sam took a moment to gather his thoughts. He had grown from a frightened engineer into a critical member of the resistance, but he couldn't shake the doubt that crept in as they prepared for battle. What if they failed? What if this was the end for them? Selka's voice cut through his thoughts. "Are you ready, Sam?" He took a deep breath, allowing her presence to anchor him. "Yeah, I'm ready." "Good," she said, her tone firm. "We're in this together. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, but for everyone back on Earth." With their spirits bolstered, the team suited up in tactical gear, each member preparing for the fight ahead. As they moved into position, Torres ran through the final checklist, her leadership unwavering. "We're going to execute this with precision. Sam, you'll handle the tech. I need you to override their security systems. Selka, you'll assist him. The rest of us will cover you while you work." "Got it," Sam replied, feeling the surge of confidence. He had faced overwhelming odds before, and he would do so again, armed with the knowledge that they were stronger together. The ship dropped out of stealth mode as they approached the *Gorath*. Sam's fingers danced over the controls, ready to initiate the infiltration. The moment arrived as they slipped into the blind spot, the ship's sensors barely registering their presence. He could see the Zoreth fighters patrolling, their sharp silhouettes darting through the dark void of space. "Now," Torres commanded, and Sam punched in the final command to engage their docking clamps. The ship shuddered as it connected to the *Gorath*. Adrenaline surged through him, fueling his determination. They were in. With the airlock sealed, Torres led the team through the narrow passage. The interior of the command ship was a stark contrast to their own, cold, metallic, and pulsating with energy. Sam's heart raced as they moved down the dimly lit corridor, each step echoing with the weight of their mission. "Sam, get to that terminal," Torres instructed, pointing to a console near the far wall. "We need to secure access to their systems and take control of their communications." As he approached the terminal, Sam's mind raced. He had to work quickly. The Zoreth would realize they were on board soon enough. He activated the console, but the security protocols were more complex than he anticipated. "I need more time," he said, panic creeping into his voice. Selka stepped beside him, her expression focused. "Let me help. I can assist with bypassing their encryption." Together, they began typing furiously, their fingers flying across the holographic interface. The seconds felt like an eternity as they battled against the Zoreth's sophisticated security measures. Sam's heart raced as he felt the presence of the enemy closing in, the distant sound of blaster fire echoing through the corridors. "Almost there," Selka urged, her eyes narrowing in concentration. "Just a little longer." With one final keystroke, the terminal lit up, and the system granted access. "We're in," Sam shouted, relief flooding through him. "Now let's disrupt their communications." As they worked, Torres and the others engaged the Zoreth soldiers who had begun to flood into the corridor. The sounds of blaster fire mingled with shouts as the resistance fought valiantly, but Sam's focus remained on the terminal. He accessed the command frequencies, severing connections and scrambling communications across the ship. "Excellent work, Sam," Torres yelled from the fray, holding off a group of advancing Zoreth. "Now, set the charges." "On it," Sam replied, his fingers moving swiftly to plant explosives throughout the command center. The fight raged around them, but Sam remained focused. He could feel the energy shifting, the tide turning as chaos enveloped the Zoreth command ship. They were on the brink of something monumental, and he could sense the adrenaline coursing through every fighter's veins. As the last charge was set, Selka glanced at him, her expression a mix of triumph and urgency. "We need to get out of here." "Right," Sam shouted, a surge of determination fueling him. They sprinted toward the exit, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. The stakes had never been higher, but together they would emerge from the chaos stronger than before. The Resistance had taken the fight to the Zoreth, and they would leave their mark on history. The chaos inside the Zoreth command ship was a whirlwind of blaster fire, shouts, and the relentless beeping of alarms. Sam sprinted alongside Selka, adrenaline propelling them through the narrow corridors. Behind them, the Resistance fighters held the line against the oncoming Zoreth soldiers, their determination a fierce barrier against the enemy. "Go! Go!" Torrid shouted, her voice cutting through the din. "We need to get to the docking bay before they regroup." Sam and Selka pushed onward, navigating through the maze of the command ship. They could hear the shouts of Zoreth soldiers rallying for a counterattack, the thud of boots echoing as they closed in. The countdown to detonation was ticking in Sam's mind, each second feeling more urgent than the last. As they turned a corner, they stumbled into a large atrium filled with alien technology and command stations. A group of Zoreth soldiers stood in the center, their weapons drawn, ready for an ambush. The sight froze Sam momentarily, but Selka grabbed his arm, snapping him back to reality. "Now," she urged, pulling him to the side as blaster bolts whizzed past them. They ducked behind a console, and Sam felt a rush of determination surge through him. "We have to fight our way out," he shouted. "I can't let them catch us." With a fierce nod, Selka grabbed a weapon from the ground, and together they emerged from behind the cover, firing at the Zoreth soldiers. Sam's hands trembled, but he forced himself to stay steady, focusing on the targets in front of him. Blaster fire erupted around them as they exchanged shots, the hum of energy weapons creating a symphony of chaos. "We can't stay here," Sam yelled, his voice barely audible over the din. "We have to keep moving." "Agreed. Let's find another route," Selka replied, her eyes scanning for an exit. She pointed toward a side corridor. "That way." They sprinted through the atrium, dodging incoming fire as they maneuvered toward the side passage. The sounds of the battle echoed in their ears, and Sam felt a surge of adrenaline as they ran. They couldn't stop now, not after everything they had fought for. Emerging from the atrium, they found themselves in a narrow hallway filled with flashing lights and warning signals. Sam pulled up a map on his wrist console, quickly plotting the best route to the docking bay. "This way," he shouted, leading Selka down the corridor. As they rounded a corner, they were met with more Zoreth soldiers. Without hesitation, Sam raised his blaster and fired, taking one down before they could react. Selka followed suit, her shots precise and unwavering. They were a team, moving in sync, each covering the other as they fought through the enemy ranks. "Almost there," Sam called out, his heart pounding in his chest. Just a few more turns. The sounds of battle grew louder behind them, and he could sense the urgency in the air. The ship was beginning to tremble, and alarms blared as the countdown continued. They couldn't afford to be caught now, not when freedom was within reach. Finally, they'd reached the docking bay, the massive doors looming ahead. The sight of the Resistance ship filled Sam with hope. They had made it. But as they approached, they heard the unmistakable sound of Zoreth soldiers closing in from behind. Panic surged through him as he realized they were running out of time. "Get to the ship," Torres shouted as she and the rest of the team emerged, providing cover fire against the advancing Zoreth. "We'll hold them off." Sam's heart raced as he glanced back at Selka. "We can't leave them." "We have to go," she insisted, urgency in her voice. "We won't make it if we don't move now." Reluctantly, Sam nodded, realizing that their lives depended on it. "Okay, let's go." He sprinted toward the ship, adrenaline coursing through his veins. As they climbed aboard, Torres and the others continued to fire, buying them precious seconds. Sam hurried to the control panel, inputting the launch sequence with shaking hands. The ship's engines roared to life, and he could feel the tension mounting as they prepared for takeoff. "Hold on," Torres yelled, and Sam hit the throttle, the ship lurching forward as they broke free from the docking bay. The sounds of blaster fire faded behind them, but they could still feel the tension in the air. As they escaped into open space, the resistance ship shook violently, the explosions from the detonated charges rocking them. Sam glanced back at the Gorath*, which was now engulfed in flames, a massive fireball lighting up the darkness of space. They had done it. They had struck a significant blow against the Zorith, one that would resonate throughout the galaxy. But the fight was far from over. Sam looked around at his comrades, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "We did it," Selka exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "We actually did it." Torres nodded, her expression serious but proud. "This is just the beginning. We've shown them we won't back down. They'll retaliate, but we'll be ready." As they entered hyperspace, Sam felt a deep sense of hope rise within him. They were a force to be reckoned with, a united front against an oppressive enemy. Together, they would continue to fight, to reclaim their future, and to forge a new path for humanity. The Zorith might have underestimated them before, but they would not make that mistake again. The resistance was alive, and they would rise against the darkness, stronger than ever.